You're very welcome back. Now we kick off our Six Nations campaign in Paris this evening when we take on Les Bleus in the Stade de France.
So what else would we take on in the kitchen? Only some French favourites. Caroline Gray, editor of Easy Food magazine, joins us now. Bon matin, Caroline.
Good morning.
Now, so a French classic.
French classic,
Coq Au
totally.
Vin.
Coq Au Vin. So it's basically just chicken braised in red wine.
Beautiful.
One pot wonder, so good. Obviously perfect for the match today, but any time of year.
Okay.
Great comfort food.
Good hearty dinner for all the family.
Totally.
So you've done quite a bit of prep here, Caroline, haven't you?
Yeah, so everything's more or less ready to go. Again, one pot meal more or less. We're gonna saute some mushrooms off and add them at the end, but we'll get started here. It's literally just more about building layers of flavor.
Yeah.
Layers of flavor. So these are just some chopped lardons here, and we just want a really high heat, and they're just gonna sear off. So this first stage, you know, it's not about kind of really cooking it through at any specific, to any degree. It's just get color on it, and that's gonna build the flavor.
Okay.
Yeah. So these will cook off, and then once these are kind of just a bit crispy and brown, we're gonna do the same thing to the chicken, take them off, and then more or less just get everything in the pan, and it's gonna stew away for about 40 minutes or so.
Gorgeous.
And then obviously the lower and slower you do it, the nicer the flavor is gonna be. And now in France, the traditional way to do it is they would cook it, let it sit overnight, pop it in the fridge, and then the next day kind of skim off any layers of fat and reheat it again. And that way the flavors have had like another night to develop.
Very good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like that.
Bit of a luxury, though, isn't it, to do that? You know, to be forward thinking like that.
Yeah, I suppose like that. If you kind of had a quiet day and then you know you're going to want to, you know, I suppose have dinner ready for the next day, it's like the perfect way to do it.
Guests over it, yeah.
Totally. So I'm just going to get these out, and then we're going to get the chicken in.
Okay.
So the same process of the chicken, you're going to get a bit of colour on it.
Yep. So we have the chicken here. These are just whole legs. Again, traditionally, you could have done it with a whole chicken chopped up, but the dark meat, like the legs and the thighs, add kind of the nicest layer of flavor to it.
Okay.
So just season those up again. I would have seasoned them before they went in anyhow.
And you could use, if you bought packets of chicken thighs or chicken wings, whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Throw them in.
Yeah, and again, because it's going to cook slow, you do want something with like a good bit of meat. If you have wings in there, it might get a little too cooked down.
Yes,
you know, you don't necessarily want it. You want it tender off the bone, but not falling off the bone.
Yes.
Exactly.
And there is a fine line, isn't there?
There
need
is.
to get the timings right. So just olive oil and some seasoning in there?
Yeah, just olive oil and seasoning. So this is just, again, we're just getting this till it gets brown. We're not really cooking it through at any stage at this point. Okay. Just turn them in. Now,
Beautiful.
yeah.
You do need a good, big, heavy pot like the one you're using, don't you?
That's the thing, yeah. A pot like this, just like a really heavy base is perfect for it. Kind of like these casserole dishes, they heat all the way through so it's nice and even as well.
Yeah.
You know, you tend not to get hot spots. And, you know, sometimes a pot like this, it's really just an investment. Like, you know, you can find it in a shop, but...
But you know what? They're actually available at good value. I bought 2 of them recently. I think they were 20 quid each.
Really?
And I cook everything in them. We cook bolognese in the stews, casseroles,
They're
curries.
used on a daily basis
Yeah,
almost.
I leave it on the oven top every day because you use it every day, and they're very easy to clean too.
Yeah.
So easy to clean. They do weigh a ton.
There's a lot to be said for a one-pot wonder, isn't there?
But
So
simple.
Yeah.
Totally simple. So we have carrots and shallots in here.
Okay.
Now in a separate pan, I'm going to get some mushrooms going.
Now, why are you doing that separately, Karen? That's interesting now.
Yeah, so sometimes, like I've seen recipes where you can add the mushrooms at the very end because mushrooms, they absorb so much moisture that you're going to want to add it toward the end of the stew anyway.
Right.
But that being said, if they're just kind of thrown in at the end, they're not going to get this same level of flavor that everything else is. So, you know, if you kind of are inclined, you can saute them off. They're going to get that brown and that kind of nice effect. Okay. And then when you add them at the very end, they have that same, they've kind of been given the same amount of love as everything else.
Okay.
I can see the sense in sauteing the mushrooms all right off first and then adding them into the stew.
That's the thing. So this is, maybe just add a little more oil. And again, it's just kind of be generous with everything. It's all about flavor. It's all gonna just complement one another. There's no point kind of being stingy with salt or pepper or flavorings. So the carrots and the shallots are good here. Now to this, I'm gonna add just a couple chopped garlic cloves.
Okay.
And as we know, those only need a few seconds to cook, really. And then to that, some tomato puree, just about a tablespoon.
Nice.
Stir that in. And that's just gonna, again, kind of a little depth of flavor, and it's gonna help things thicken up a little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of thickening, we have some flour.
Yeah.
So that just goes right in there. And again, you want to cook it off.
Cook it out for a few minutes,
Cook it for a few minutes because
Yeah.
you don't want that raw flour flavor. But
Okay.
this will help the stew thicken up when it's good to go.
So you only added a little bit of that.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Plain
only-
flour.
Exactly, just plain flour. So that's kind of the base there. Now what we're going to do is get the main ingredients back in. So we're adding the chicken.
Get the chuck back in there.
Everything back
the
in.
bacon, Yeah. You
And
have
obviously
this,
all the
Oh,
juices that have collected in
delicious.
the
It
plate.
smells very good.
Now a lot of the aromatics here. So we have chicken stock.
Anna? Great.
Now we're braising this. It's not like we're boiling it or making a
Yeah.
stew. So all of the liquid ingredients, you want it to come part way up the chicken, but not to submerge it.
Okay.
And then the main thing, red wine. This is where the van comes from. So this
How
is
much red wine are you?
so this
okay.
is this is a Burgundy. Again, and it's important to kind of use any kind of red wine that you would want to drink. So don't just.
Yeah, it's kind of a rule of thumb, isn't it? If it's good enough to drink, it's good enough to cook with.
That's
Okay.
the thing. And then just a few more. We have bay leaves, so we're just going to pop one in here.
Beautiful.
And then we have thyme.
It's a bouquet
A
garni
little,
there.
well, exactly. So it's kind of the bouquet garni style. So it's tied up, and this way you can just
Fish it out at the end.
fish it out at the
Nice.
end. You're not going to. And
Nice.
again, the best thing about this.
Kind of a nice chefy touch to do that,
Totally,
isn't
yeah.
it?
But it makes so much sense. One of my least favorite things to do in the kitchen is get thyme off of the, the
We're
sprigs.
killed for time, Caroline.
All right,
So
so
we can get that into the oven at what temperature?
we're going to keep it on here.
Oh, you're going to keep it
We're
there?
gonna just cook it right there.
Stays there, okay.
Stays there. So we have some ready here.
Great. So I like to hear.
So this is like a big sharing plate.
Totally, yeah. It's
Nice.
nice and again perfect for a crowd. So we have some of the chicken here. This has just been simmering for about, again, I'd say maybe 50 minutes or so.
Beautiful.
You can pull the thyme out. Whoops.
And then your mushrooms.
The mushrooms in, and then ladle it up.
Cool. Well, we're very lucky. We're going to have a taste of that while we go to a little break. Can
Going
I
to
go
take a
first?
quick break, and we have fashion coming up. See you in a few.